Hope everybody's well. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. Busy. Zach, you're up first, buddy.
All right, so this will be super simple for you guys. What I have, no, I'm just kidding. It's a pretty intense little bit that I have for you. So first is a rezoning, or it's a planning and development request. Sorry for the typo up there. For this is the terrace at Skyland Park. So this is a planning and development for 26 single-family residential lots and 1 open space lot. So it's within the Skyland Park subdivision, Council District 7. This was continued a while back. I believe there were some neighborhood meetings that occurred in between now and then. So it's kind of an infill project. They're proposing to connect the 2 streets there. 2-bedroom plan starting around 800 square feet, 3-bedroom plan starting around 1,100, and then 1,400 for a 4-bedroom plan. So as you can see there, the layout of all the lots, there's a lot of area down south that is just kind of unbuildable. And these are some renderings or some examples that this area might look like when it's developed. So this does conform to framework. Framework identifies this as suburban residential, which is predominantly single-family homes. Range of lot size, housing styles, and housing sizes. Future land use character map is shown here. And unanimously recommended to approve the rezoning. Planning Commission did at their September 2024 meeting. That's all I have for you guys. If y'all have any questions on this one.
Any thoughts from you, Councilor Lanier?
Yeah, I'm opposed. I spoke with Brock about it. I had a meeting, several meetings with my neighborhood, people in my district. And just don't like the cookie cutter homes.
I just knew the last time we'd spoken, that's how you felt.
So and I stand on that, and I was very clear with Brock about that, and I still am. I'm opposed to it, and hope I can get enough votes from y'all to go with me on that too.
Okay. Thank you for that. Is that all you had?
No. All right, we've got another rezoning, or this is a rezoning request. This one's actually pretty simple. So Ann Huntsinger is petitioning to rezone about 1 acre down McFarland Boulevard from BGO to BH, Council District 7 again. So this property, it's just north of Broadway Pizza. I think what exists today is like a Dominion Construction Company, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
But you can see, this is the best image here. So you can see it's zone BGO where that office is, and then just south of that is vacant land, and that's BH. We have actually fixed this in the framework map that's y'all are hearing on the 17th next week to turn this into a BH equivalent. But they wanted to go ahead and pursue a rezoning just in case, because they are looking to purchase the property.
Refresh us on the difference in BGO and BH.
So BGO is more like businesses, offices. BH is more of like highway commercial type uses. And so as you see on McFarland Boulevard, it's a pretty heavily, this would be somewhere that BH would definitely be appropriate. And they're requesting to do this to do a RV camper sales. Yeah. And it was, our framework identifies as a corridor commercial, which does, the intended use and the zoning does conform to framework, you can see here. And Planning Commission did unanimously recommend to approve it.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
All right, and then these are, I'm gonna group these into 2. There's 2 rezonings in the same area. I know y'all are familiar with this. This is on McWright's Ferry. So I'm going to go through both of them together and then, answer any questions y'all might have. So 2 rezoning requests. So just to give you an understanding of what's being requested here, this is a rezone. So when you come into the city of Tuscaloosa, as y'all know, you get zoned R1. So they're proposing to annex into the city of Tuscaloosa. When they do, they come in as R1 zoning district. So what we try and do is bring forward the rezoning request before the annexation so that they know if they're annexed into the city, they're getting the rezoning request that they're choosing to. For instance, if this were to get denied, they probably would not pursue that annexation because they wouldn't be able to build what they wanted to.
Does this defeat the purpose of bringing everything in as R1?
No, so
I mean, I thought that's
the
what we
reason-
do, right?
Yeah, so the reason that happens, and you almost always see a rezoning and annexation at the
Right.
same time, it's because it goes to the least restrictive zoning district, or the most restrictive zoning district we have, which is R1. So when you go into the city, you're just automatically apply to zoning district. It's the most restrictive.
Understand that.
Mhm.
I'm a little unclear, are you telling us tonight we're voting on both, annexing it? We're not.
No, so
We're
you're
just
just voting
voting
on
to
the-
bring it into the city.
Nope,
at-
sorry, I confused. You're just voting on the rezonings. So when and it's called pre-zoning, so you're basically saying when you annex next week, the annexation is next week. When you annex next week, you are coming in as these zoning districts. And the reason is because they probably will not pursue an annexation if they aren't able to build a commercial, if they're denied that commercial zoning district, they're not going to want to annex into the city because that defeats the purpose of annexing into the city for this specific project.
And since they don't fall under our island annexation, then we have no ability then just to arbitrarily annex them.
But this won't stop them from building what they want to.
So
No.
we can get into more of the details here. So 2 rezoning requests. Y'all are familiar with the location. You can see here it's adjacent to city property, but it's not in city limits. It's obviously going to be right next to that new McBride's Ferry Road intersection right there. They're requesting to annex into the city and rezone for a new commercial and multifamily residential development. So this is the overall project, and we'll kind of break it down a little bit. So the first request is the commercial component. So they are requesting this portion to be commercially zoned. And you can see there is on the south side a fuel canopy and a convenience store associated with that fuel canopy, and then on the north side that building is going to be retail. And then on the other side, this is that other portion of this, they are wanting to rezone this portion to RMF1 because they want to build an apartment complex. 24 units is what they're proposing here. 24 unit apartment complex. So it does conform to framework. The intended use as well as the zoning request conform to framework. So framework shows the commercial portion as limited commercial, and then framework shows the residential portion as traditional neighborhood edge, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit more. So you can see the map here. Commercial, the pinkish, orange is residential. So limited commercial, the pink color, salmon color. So what that future land use character map, and I want to specify this too because I think there was some confusion on some emails and conversations that we had received through this process of getting it to this point. We've had a lot of conversations with neighborhoods and people of that nature involved in this project or interested in this project. Limited commercial is the future land use character type, which is different from the zoning district. And I know that y'all know this and we've harped it on, and Ms. Howard is very familiar with this because every time during our framework meetings, those 26 meetings, we opened up with future land use character map. It can be multiple zoning districts within this future land use type. So limited commercial doesn't automatically go to business highway, doesn't automatically go to BGO. There could be multiple types of zoning districts associated with the future land use character type. So that being said, this area was identified as limited commercial, which, as you can see here underlined, generally exists near prominent intersections within a neighborhood or at its edge, and it allows for mixed use, live work, multifamily residential uses. primary small scale commercial retail uses and limited commercial, and then secondary uses would be multifamily residential. So essentially what this future character type throughout this whole process that y'all are gonna get to be the end result of hopefully on the 17th, this brought us to the point where we are assigning zoning districts to these properties for the new map. So then we go into traditional neighborhood edge, which is that residential portion, which allows for all this stuff, residential areas, but just to highlight that piece, may include areas of small lot, attached, or multifamily dwellings. So traditional neighborhood edge does identify that there could be some multifamily, some small multifamily with single family scale could be appropriate in this area, as well as some commercial. So the recommendation from Planning Commission, they did unanimously recommend to approve the rezoning to BN. And then there was a recommendation to approve the rezoning to RMF1 by a vote of 8-1. So hopefully I didn't make that too confusing.
Not at
I know
all.
it's a very confusing thing, but
Counselor, was that all on that, Zach?
that's all. Yes, sir.
Counselor Crowe, may I?
Absolutely.
Okay. I have, not as much as Counselor Crowe has, but I have met with all these parties, probably more than anybody besides, I'm sure, the mayor. This is just, I'm gonna give you my thoughts. Right now, the people who have been so opposed, I think we knew with the expansion of McWright's Ferry, this is just the beginning. And the way I look at it, do you want them regulated by being in the city? Or if they stay the same, they're gonna be in the county with zero regulations. And the numbers of residents that I've spoken with, and they actually agree with me. You know, they said, well, it kind of didn't think about it like that. They thought maybe if we denied it, it was gonna go away. But again, it's coming, whether we rezone it or not. But I personally would rather be able to, of course, the revenue is very important, but also be able to regulate. Right now, they're gonna build with no regulations.
We had that happen in District 6, where a nice apartment complex came in, and the previous council wouldn't let them be in the city limits, but they were there, and they've still been there. And this council finally allowed them to come in the city limits, and we're getting the taxes you mentioned, and we have more regulation over them. I'm sympathetic to some people. I just think this is the best way to do it.
And also, sometimes some of the neighborhoods aren't even really that close to this at all. They're not even close to these developments. So, you know, that's the thing that also, I mean, that's almost like me being opposed to something in Matthews District. I mean, some of my neighborhoods, because they're not really even, they're closer than that, but they're not really close to those districts. So I will just say, I think in what I plan on doing is voting yes on both of them. And because I'd like to see them regulated and like to honestly see them coming to the city. That's my thoughts.
They're gonna be there either way.
Council President, I have already voted yes to both, but my thoughts and my sentiments tonight of the vote is, and this is what I've told some of the residents individually, is that I agree with you. It would be best for us to have our hands on it and to be able to regulate this and set our standards and make sure that they follow those guidelines, then not. Because the developer and the petitioner that night made it clear that even if it was not annexed in, that they were still gonna go forward.
Mhm.
So this is a development that they're gonna see either way, and I would rather much see it within the city limits than not.
Thank you, because again,
Yes.
revenue and regulations,
You got me?
okay?
Hey, Mr. President,
Yes,
I
sir.
want to ask a couple of questions.
Sure.
Hey, Zach,
Mr. Crowe would like that.
there is no doubt this has been a very contentious issue with a lot of my constituents, and I have, and along, I mean, all of you have too, but I mean, Zach, y'all have been really good at being accessible about trying to answer questions, because part of this has been the questions about a piece of land in the county coming into the city. What happens if it does? What happens if it doesn't? But I personally tried to spend a lot of time returning phone calls. I met with people, I've emailed people, and I was appreciative to the mayor and others and staff for, I decided that, and I do think that the petitioner and everybody, I mean, people have been they've listened to things that I've talked to them about.
Yeah.
Everybody has. But anyway, I thought it was real important to have a meeting with some of these homeowners association folks. And so we had a meeting here before Thanksgiving. And there's probably 8 or 9 of those folks that were here. And I'll be honest, I mean, there's passion on both sides of this issue, but really on the side of people are very concerned about what this is, what it will be, what is the right thing to do about a lot of this. But I thought we had a really good meeting to get some of those concerns on the table. And I know I'm getting around to a question, but I know there are several things that I would love to see if this was to pass this evening. The city has a lot of land that's in that right of way, and I've mentioned to the mayor, I know he was here, Mike Garner was looking at some things for me. I've talked with several of y'all about this thing, but there is a way, I think, to buffer some of this to minimize some of these issues that people have said. I don't know what that tree covering looks like. I don't know what that could look like, and I know the city, I've told people we're committed to making something really good happen there, right? I am concerned, and I do want to ask questions about a couple of the other issues that were mentioned. One of them was the outlet of this development onto Bluegrass Parkway. I know that the petitioner and the engineer that was in charge of that, Mr. Duncan, they were looking at some different things, and I know we were trying to figure out ways that we could help soothe some of this with the residents, and that's kind of what I've been trying to do is represent them and try to see what are some ways we could make a development better, right? And so I don't know how can you address some of that, and then what is required, Zach, under the new framework, because I want to make sure that people understand that if something is passed, the annexation happens in January, but just make sure that the new rules, which are a lot stricter, do apply to something that this development, right? I mean, it's going to apply. So can you?
Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little bit about what could happen with it?
Yes,
please?
I will defer the first question to Mr. Gardner on the access point, but second question, yes. So when they annex into the city, they know and we know that we are going to be reviewing this under the new code. And the new code, again, December 17th, you'll have that meeting to possibly adopt that with an effective date of January 1. And so when we're looking at this, I mean, as y'all are familiar, we have met and discussed so much about how we can protect neighborhoods with new developments, and that includes lighting, it includes buffers, landscape buffers, how the parking works, material standards, all of those things that
aren't currently in effect.
Aren't currently in effect and would not be in effect even with the new code if this is not annexed into the city. They could just put up metal buildings right there if they wanted to in the city. We would have no regulation over landscaping. We'd have no regulation over parking requirements, no enforcement on lighting, signage, anything like that. And so we've really taken that into account in our new code we've put neighborhoods first, and I think even Mr. Corder sitting here, he can attest to that. He's been involved in some of that as on the other side, as a developer, I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, but Zach, I'm very concerned about what could be developed beyond, just in that whole corridor, because there's a lot of issues that, in my opinion, might not be great for the city.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the things that we can do to try to minimize, I hate to say, the wrong type of development, because there are things we have control over there are things we don't have control over. And I think that this corridor is very important to the city of Tuscaloosa. And a lot of residents aren't happy about what they're seeing going on. And
Yes, sir.
I'm very sympathetic to them. I mean, I represent them.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah.
but what is the right thing? I mean, it's, I think we're, you guys with me, we're trying to do the right thing, right? And it's been pretty difficult.
Mhm. Yeah, so along this whole corridor, you do have some areas in the city limits, some not in the city limits. When we, at the end of the projects, we are gonna be annexing McWright's Ferry fully into the city limits, so that whole right-of-way will be city limits. So any property adjacent to city limits can also annex into the city. And so in that situation, when they annex into the city, that's when these regulations come into place. And it's a benefit for everybody because they also need to annex into the city in order to access sewer, which Mr. Gardner can speak more on. But yeah, there will be a lot of opportunity along this corridor to get people
And
into
also
the
in
city
your
limits.
packet, your legislative packet, for the 19th or 20th year in a row, the city is asking our legislature to give us extraterritorial zoning to address issues like this, so that we run in down Hargrove Road or around Lake Tuscaloosa. Because I understand the constituents' concerns, but at the same time, if it's in the county,
Certainly, I do too, Mayor, and you're so right, I thought it was a little longer than 20 years,
it
honestly.
may be. That's just during my time.
Yeah.
that I can remember.
The example I was given years ago was they could put a hog farm there if they wanted
Well, that's true.
to, so.
Arnold. Arnold.
Yeah. Mike, can you address a little bit about the ingress and egress on Bluegrass Parkway? I mean, it kind of, where you see all this?
So as a component of the approval process of the land development permit, we'll be requiring an analysis, particularly for turning movements. Obviously, the traffic volumes that McWright's and Watermelon will carry are sufficient. But how many vehicles are going to want to turn left? How many are going to want to turn right in the northbound direction? So the analysis that we're looking for in this report is to determine what the stacking links for a left turn lane would be. We want to get that motorist that wants to turn into any business, out of the flow of traffic so that they're sitting there safe from rear end collisions and have the opportunity to turn in the development. And both of those connectors that they're proposing would be a part of that analysis. And then they would be obligated to perform any improvements that analysis demands. Right turn lanes, left turn lanes.
If there was, other than the developer deciding with the engineer that they wanted to not have that entrance to this property, could this process find another way to do that? Or how would that work? I mean, to actually rule out that as an entrance and exit? What could that happen?
It could happen, yes, sir, it could.
So, will you make sure that because these are the type of questions I'm gonna ask tonight, because we're gonna have a big audience.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
I mean, I feel like we're gonna have a big audience of people, and I understand that, but I think it's important for us to lay out the story of this process and how, so that people understand. And also, I've gotten some emails this morning about just some questions that I wanna ask that are things I think that the public needs to know, but, just to make sure that we're all on the same page about this stuff tonight.
Certainly.
I'd appreciate you being around,
I'll be there.
please.
And I know we need to move along, but I will say this, that, I've been real close with Norman, especially the last couple of months, and I've never seen anybody that honestly probably stays awake a lot longer than he should worrying about this, because you care so much about your constituents, and you know, there's no way ever to make everyone happy, but you have certainly tried, and I was with you at one particular meeting that everybody left there not very happy with you because you were, they knew you were doing everything for the betterment of the district. It's just situations that come to us that we have no control over. And as long as you work with your constituents like you have, I just really applaud you for all the extra hours you've put into this.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, Mr. President.
It's very, very true. Virgil?
All right, the first one we got up is our famous one from 3601 or whatever, 21st Street.
You just buy it.
I just know he's.
Busby said he was gonna buy it.
That looked like
As you can see,
anything,
there's
Virgil.
been,
I just know.
the only difference is, I think,
No progress.
what's falling off is worse. There has been no activity on the house.
I can't vote for
Did he
him.
tell us that he was gonna start on it?
He said he was gonna start on, he said he was gonna see it.
You know,
Is this the fellow we gave the 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
he
asked
said
him not to come back.
he said he had somebody coming on that Monday, for 3 weeks past and nothing's been done. I don't know what happened to his money or anything like that.
So,
I honestly do not think he'll show up after what he was told last time, but I didn't think he was gonna be here last time.
I know he does.
but I,
So,
and,
What's your recommendation?
I said that
Vote it
vote
down.
off, but I meant it.
I can't do any more
You did a lot.
myself.
You did a lot.
They asked, because we gave them that time and,
Yeah.
How much time are you supposed to give somebody? Not
to
as
the
much
end
as,
of time.
not as much as we did.
Okay,
so that's that one. Now we've got a new one for you tonight.
great.
This one is for, and I didn't even put the address in it, that's bad. It's 2824, I believe, 18th Street. 2842, I'm sorry, 18th Street. This house, we had some squatters in it. They were stealing power from a junction box on a power pole out there. It's not livable. We've actually run the squatters back out since I posted it for condemnation again. The owners have called and asked for time to either demo it themselves or sell it.
Yeah.
I told them it was coming before the council, that they could present their case to them. If they're just gonna tear it down, I say we vote it down, and they'll have time to get it tore down before we get to it.
Yeah.
If they come with a plan to sell it, y'all can make up your mind, but, in my opinion, I think it's easier to sell a vacant lot than it would be to sell this thing.
Sure.
Right. And I wanna say,
So,
you all.
and like I said, the squatter situation that we encountered in there there was two sitting on the front porch, and they told us nobody else was in there, and the police officer walked in, there were 7 other people inside.
Wow.
And it was not a safe place to be, so.
It's gonna catch on fire.
No, well, one of them electrocuted.
Either that or somebody's gonna get electrocuted. Now, we dismantled the makeshift power that they had the other day. That don't mean they climbed back up and got it back in working, but.
Well, it's dangerous for that house right up next to it.
Well, you got a house on both sides, and they're very close proximity, and it could, if it catches on fire, you are correct, because both of those houses next to it, they're old, they're wood structures. A spark or anything could set them up real quick as well.
If they're squatting in there in cold weather, they're gonna set a fire.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. And that's the problem we have with a lot of this time of year, is we will get some fires from squatters, trying to stay warm. I understand it, it's bad, but, you can see the floors in there. It looks like a good pile of kindling. One spark's gonna set it up pretty quick. So our recommendation is just to go ahead and let's vote this one to condemn. Like I said, I'm not sure if they're gonna be here or not. The son said he was gonna come and present his case, but he may not. It's District 1.
And let me say this, I thank you for the, blight list. We've really eradicated over hundreds of houses and removed blight, thanks to the mayor. Thank you all for how you are working diligently, to rid the community and the district of blight. Yeah, this has to go. This is, yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike. Erica Grant. Erica Grant. I know, she knows we're in council. I'll put it on speaker. That would be a
Go take
hoot.
a vacation.
So tonight we've got a really an alley vacation, a street vacation, but this is a small segment of alley that's about 130 feet in length. And it bisects property owned by one individual. The alley is the green section that's kind of north and south, right there in the middle. You got 6th Street to the east and 7th Street to the west. The street that you see there that's going east to west on the north side of the proposed vacation is also an alley, and we're just 1 block south of 13th Street. The purpose for the vacation here is to create one contiguous parcel. We've had one development meeting with a prospective developer to redevelop this area. Most of this is all student rentals, older homes that have been there probably 80 years or so. So looking forward to it, redeveloping into, something much nicer.
Can you go back to the aerial photograph?
Yes, sir.
Does that say 13th Lane?
It does, but it's an alley. It's a 20-foot public alley. Why it got a name years ago, I'm not sure. Most of our alleys are not named. And it could have been because there was some.
I'm sorry, I'm still not entirely clear what we're looking at. I mean, I see the railroad tracks.
So Hackberry is just to the right of that development there. It started out called Point, something like that. I have a different.
13th Street,
Is one block north.
Further north?
Yes.
Jack's is north.
Jack's is over there?
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
What are these?
Yeah, you're just warming up your wrist after like
I tell you
break.
what.
Because it's.
Might be you, I
This
think.
track of land and that track.
I don't think you
And they want to develop something across it. Create one big piece of property.
I will probably make a motion to table for 1 week,
Okay,
just so I can start it.
that's no problem. Yeah, it has to be next week or we'll be after next
Yeah,
week.
that's fine.
All right, that's it, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Antonius. Hey, can you call Go Puff and see if they can send a round up here?
I think they went out of business.
We gonna need two.
Everybody was going.
White cups. It's gotta be in a cup.
Gotta be in the cup.
All right, good afternoon, Councilor Mayor. I have 4 applications today. The first one would be for WAFB Manager 4 LLC, DBA the AC Hotel by Marriott. They're applying for a restaurant retail liquor license. It's a change of ownership.
Okay,
All right. My next applicant will be, second. It's Milano's Italian Grill, ALLC, DBA Milano's Italian Grill. They're applying for a restaurant retail liquor license.
I wanna put a
Where are they
plug in.
located?
The old Pepitos.
Yeah.
It's in my district. The food is great, and it's a great
I've heard
restaurant.
people
The food
really
is
brag
really
on it.
good. But people will be happy they can have a drink.
Okay.
Provided we pass it.
Next ABC. Next ABC.
And my last two,
Right at Old Pepitos. They've done a great job with that building. It's totally different.
Really?
Don't mind that.
my last two are for special retail license, less than 7 days. Both applicants have asked to withdraw these applications. So,
Withdraw it?
yes, sir.
Really?
It's not gonna be a game.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay,
That's all I have.
that's all. Thank you, buddy.
That hurt.
Mayor Mellis.
I'm gonna forego a report. We do have three items for executive session. One of them may take a little bit of time.
Okay, all right. By the way, you did a great job this morning at your speech with the Savings Center thing was really, really good. I appreciate the things that you said about them and just really good.
Thank you to Mr. Wilson and Ms. Howard who joined you being there. We appreciate it.
Yes, it was
Great.
really,
Nice.
it was
It
Great
was.
being in Tuscaloosa.
it was
It's
special.
always nice to hear the coach.
Okay,
Listen,
Ms. Howard,
this,
Councilor Howard.
On a lighter note, we have such a busy schedule, but this is something fun to consider and think about. I would like to introduce to you all something that states already do, and it's called a poet laureate. And this idea of the city of Tuscaloosa having a poet laureate or laureate was brought to me by Ms. Kiva Tice, who is a Central High School graduate, and she is a community leader and does a lot with the arts and a lot with poetry and literacy
She's
throughout the
excellent.
community. She is
She's
excellent.
excellent.
So I would like to nominate her as the city's poet laureate. But just to give you a little background about what this person, how this works, is that nominations, poets will nominate themselves or be nominated by city residents during the application process that's made available by the mayor's office or the city council. A poet laureate committee will be established by the city council or the mayor's office and will have a city council representative, and I would be willing to serve on that as a part of that representation. A representative from the arts board, from the city arts and literature community, and the committee will review applications and recommend nominees to the mayor. So once again, I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with this, but I would like to definitely nominate Ms. Kiva Tice. She's done a lot, she does a lot with the city when we have a lot
Yeah.
of major events, like for MLK Day. Yeah.
she's super.
Yeah, I know her
Yeah.
well
Very
too.
much so.
But, the state has one, state of
Yes,
Alabama has
yeah, we
one,
do.
and so I'm sure there'll be a lot of interest in that, for
Okay.
sure. Ms. Johnson, you're up next, but maybe we can add that to a process of taking nominations for persons interested, 'cause,
Of course.
in that.
Right, so
Okay.
we have the zoning board of adjustments and the Tuscaloosa Public Library. We've been kind of working on this for a couple of months now. So if you remember the last time we met, you guys got those two stacks of applicants that we got for both. We got 9 for ZBA and 7 for the public library. We are looking for someone to fill a position on the zoning board of adjustments, a full term, and then a full term on the public libraries board, and a partial term that ends in 2025 for the public library as well.
The full term was for
For the,
Jimmy Warren? or
yes,
the-
public library was Jimmy Warren.
Okay.
Warren.
I'm just gonna give my thoughts on this. And if it's okay, since next week's the last one, as far as can we do this next week?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Let me put one on the
Go ahead.
table to look at
Yes.
next week.
please.
The vacancy's coming
Yeah.
from Linda Ford out of the historic district.
Yes.
The current supernumerary, Marty Hamner,
Mm-hmm.
is from there.
Mhm.
Next week, or whenever we meet, I'd like to look at moving the supernumerary into the full
Mhm.
slot. And then I would nominate Austin Merriweather to fill the supernumerary
Okay.
shot.
Get with her. Get with
Okay,
Brandy, then we'll-
I just didn't want to surprise her.
No, and Brandy, if we can also,
I like
Everybody's for
yeah,
that. I thought we
Why don't we can do
and
that?
also if we could just get it like Norman just suggested, because, you know, I think we all got a little cobweb, and maybe, I know I do, maybe just a little brief thing on each of the ones that are up, because,
if we agree on that, Mr. President, that, because.
the one that Mr. Wilson, you know, like for the library, talked about, you know,
Yes.
I like her, and I also like Sandra Ray. She's a former state school board member from the state of Alabama, to take Jimmy Warren's place.
Well, can we go ahead and do those?
So,
If we can do
we got the ZBA done.
Yeah.
We want to go ahead and knock it out.
that's fine with me.
I think that's good.
So
But-
move Marty Hamner to Linda Ford's
Yeah,
vacated
and Austin
positions.
Meriwether moves up in the supernumerary.
Yep.
And that way we got one
Okay,
position.
thank you. And
And
then
Ms. Miles.
Miss Miles to take Dr. Winston's, what was her name?
Dr. Williams is.
No,
Oh.
just came off the library board, the lady,
Dr.
Florence.
Williams.
Florence
Dr.
Williams.
Williams.
His nomination with that, and then, you know, if y'all don't know, Sandra Ray is, I think she'd be a perfect spot to take over for Jimmy Warren.
That'd be great.
Mhm.
Okay, that good?
Yeah.
We're done,
All right.
Right, thank you.
all right? I love it when it works like that.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So we're out.
Yeah, Mr. Holmes.
Good afternoon, council.
Good afternoon.
I just got up here and I already feel like I've overstayed my welcome. I sent you, I believe, right before the Thanksgiving break, and you should have on the table in front of you a draft copy of the city's 2025 legislative agenda. I can go about reviewing this with you today in as much or as little detail as you would prefer. You'll look and you will probably notice that most of these items are the same as they have been previously.
Yes, sir.
What I generally do to start is to go through and take out anything we've been successful on, and then start from what we hadn't gotten across the finish line before. I believe new this year is a specific item in our agenda requesting that the state fully fund our district attorney's office. As you know, that is a important linchpin of public safety in our community. You'll also notice that we have fleshed out several more items for the public safety side of the agenda. I will say, I know council is, we've got a lot on this pre-council, and there is actually an item on public safety this afternoon to go through those items. And so if council would prefer, I can wait and cover those items this afternoon at pre-council with the mayor. And I'm happy to answer any questions or to go into any greater detail on what's in front of you today.
Let's do that since we've got 3 executive sessions.
Are there any questions as to, that anybody has what's in front of you?
You know, I wonder if there's anything, Mayor, I hadn't a chance to ask you if there's some things on here that may say that there's absolutely no interest whatsoever on their part to do any things that have been on year after year, or just keep them on there.
You know, I vacillate on that as well, but
Yeah.
I do think it's important, kind of like the issue of McWright's Ferry Road.
Great.
It's not important till our constituents deal with it, and then it becomes
True.
important. And I think it's good to show our constituents, we do know this is an issue, we've been trying to solve it. And maybe this can also motivate our county commission to draw interest into this and help us pass something.
Okay, I understand, certainly.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yes, sir.
Remind me what the thought is of moving the election to May from March.
I think that came off this year.
Was that last year?
I was the sponsor.
It's still on this year, but I can take it off if you like me, Mr. Buster.
No, let's leave it on.
What-
It'll be
what we
one of those
did-
25-year ones.
What we did was change, obviously, it's not possible to move the 2025
That's right.
election,
Okay.
so we renumbered it to 29.
All righty. Are we finished?
I'm finished if y'all are
Okay,
finished.
I'm sorry.
I'm up next, so I'll stay standing.
Okay.
All right, and on your council agenda today, I am starting actually about midway of page 3, where on page 39 you'll be requesting the appointment of Tuscaloosa Fire Rescue Captain Rex Adams of the City of Tuscaloosa as City Representative of the E911 Commission of the Tuscaloosa County Emergency Management Communications District, and this comes to you from the mayor. On page 40, you'll be authorizing the execution of a certificate for the Tuscaloosa Housing Authority regarding the consistency of Public Housing Authority plan with the consolidated plan, state consolidated plan, and the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. This comes to you from CD Committee on the 19th. On page 41, you'll be authorizing the execution of an agreement with the Alabama Department of Economic Community Affairs for program year 2024 Emergency Solutions Grant Program. This comes to you from CD Committee on the 19th. On page 42, you'll be adopting policies and procedures related to Section 3 program requirements for the use and administration of community planning and development programs and projects. Again, this comes to you from CD Committee on the 19th. On page 43, you'll be adopting the city's Let's Paint, Let's Renovate program policies and procedures for community planning and development programs. This again comes from CD Committee on the 19th. On page 44, you'll be authorizing the mayor to execute 2024 application for certification to the Arbor Day Foundation for being recognized as Tree City USA. This comes from projects on the 19th. On page 45, you'll be approving job class specifications for the Tuscaloosa Police Department. This came to you admin on the 19th. On page 46, you'll be authorizing a disbursement from the District 1 Improvement Funds for the Benjamin Barnes YMCA Men's Club Dinner for Seniors. This comes to you, actually it's doubled up and will be in finance today. On page 47, you'll be authorizing the purchase of equipment, supplies, or services from Jerry Pate Turf and Irrigation. This is a total of $55,778.04. This comes to you as a previously budgeted purchase from purchasing. On page 48, you'll be authorizing the purchase of equipment, supplies, or services for various departments. This is a total of $96,544.58. This, again, is a previously budgeted item from purchasing. On page 49, you'll be authorizing the mayor to execute appraisal services with the Appraisal and Consultant Group, Inc. and Valbridge Property Appraisers for property appraisals and commercial valuation services for review appraisals regarding the University Boulevard East Improvements Project. This is doubled up and will be on projects today, so we can go ahead and get started on property acquisition.
I'm ready.
On page 50, you'll be authorizing property easement and right-of-way acquisitions regarding the University Boulevard East Improvement projects. This, again, will be doubled up and will be discussed in projects today. This allows Mr. Bobbitt to start sending out his donation letters. On page 51, you'll be authorizing amendment number 1 to the professional engineering service contract between the City of Tuscaloosa and TTL for the Lake Nickel restroom renovations project. The total amended compensation is $27,305, and this was discussed in projects last week. On the 19th. On page 52, you'll be authorizing minor public works contract with Taylor Electrical Contractors for $73,660. This, again, was discussed in projects on the 19th. On page 53, you'll be authorizing a professional services consulting and related services agreement with Jacobs Engineering Group. This is for water service risk and resilience assessment and emergency response plan. This is a total not to exceed $28,500 and was discussed in projects on the 19th. On page 54, you'll be authorizing a minor public works contract with Chisholm Communications. This is a total not to exceed $8,600 and was discussed in projects on the 19th. On page 55, you'll be authorizing a professional services agreement with Chrysalis Research and Consulting, LLC, to provide professional services for the development of analysis of impediment and fair housing choice project. This is a total not to exceed $26,500 and came to you in CD Committee on the 19th. On page 56, you'll be authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for professional consulting and related services as a lobbyist with Huntsville Direct Communications. This is a maximum contract amount not to exceed $48,000 and was presented in admin on the 19th. On page 57, you'll be authorizing a minor public works contract with Bagby Elevator Company. This is a total not to exceed $27,635 and was discussed in projects last week. On page 58, you'll be authorizing minor public works contract with Green Acres Landscape Services. This is a total not to exceed $38,950 and was discussed in, and was discussed in projects on the 19th. On page 59, you'll be authorizing minor public works contract with Isbel installation. This is a total not to exceed $42,170 and was in projects on the 19th. On page 60, you'll be authorizing a minor public works contract with J&J Construction Services, LLC. This is a total not to exceed $7,000 and was presented in projects on the 19th. On page 61, you'll be authorizing a minor public works contract with Jimmy Hall Plumbing Company. This is a total not to exceed $9,875 and was discussed in projects last week. And we're on the last page. On page 62, you'll be authorizing a minor public works contract with Warrior Security LLC. This is a total not to exceed $1,400 and was discussed in projects last week. On page 63 and 64, you'll be authorizing the execution of agency funding agreements for the City of Tuscaloosa 2024 Emergency Solutions Grant Program through the Alabama Department of Economic and Community Affairs. This was discussed in CD on the 19th. On page 65 and 66, these numbers are starting to run together on me. You'll be authorizing amendment number 3 to the subrecipient agreement with Habitat for Humanity and authorizing the mayor to execute the amendment with Habitat for Humanity of Tuscaloosa under the city's 2022 Community Development Block Grant Program. This was discussed in CD committee on the 19th. On page 67 and 68, you'll be authorizing amendment number 1 to the fiscal year 2025 Water and Sewer Reserve for Future Improvements Fund budget. That was discussed in finance on the 19th. On page 69, you'll be amending exhibits A and B of section 1942 of the Code of Tuscaloosa. This is regarding positions in the Tuscaloosa Police Department. It was discussed in admin on the 19th. On page 70 through 71, you'll be adopting a severe weather preparedness sales tax holiday for certain covered items for 2025. This was discussed in finance on the 19th. And then finally, on page 72, you'll be reappointing LaPerry Howell to the Board of Directors for the Tuscaloosa County Parking and Transit Authority. Are there any questions for me on the agenda?
Any questions for Scott? Okay. Thank you, sir. We have Historic Preservation Commission Wednesday, tomorrow. On Monday, Planning and Zoning Commission on the 16th. And let me be brief. I want to say something real briefly. I absolutely love all of you guys in this room, and I can't call names, but I don't know why I was truly blessed and favored in this world to be able to work for the city of Tuscaloosa, and starting from the mayor to the employees. And I just don't know, honestly. It's just the greatest gift in the world to work with you all. And almost everybody in this room has reached out to me personally, called, and even about this being my first Thanksgiving without Bo. I mean, y'all are the most wonderful people in my life, and I just want you to know that how much I appreciate each and every one of you. When my mom had, honestly, I thought we were going to lose her. It was not 10 minutes, it seemed like, that the fire department were there. Of course, she loves, the fire department's been so great to her, as the police department, and I'm going to get on that in just a minute. But they just came in, and it was unbelievable how they went directly to work. Many of them already knew her, and got her immediately breathing good, got her in the ER in no time, and just handled her with such care and such lovingness, like it was their own mother. And I mean, the firemen and then have called me since, saying, I was with her that night. How is she? We want to be able to take her home when she gets to go home. And they did. Came on a Saturday night at almost 9 o'clock and took my mother home. Treated her such kindness. And then the police, and she blankly, I cannot tell you. I think they were going to arrest me last night. They weren't expecting me to be home, and then the lights came and I said, "It's me, it's me." And they've gone around the house. They're just not looking. They go around the house and make sure everything's locked, and it's just been unbelievable. And I thank you and all the men and women, both for both departments, but just for each one of you. You just don't. And I said I wasn't going to call names, but the one that just really made me cry was Kimberly. And Kimberly's message to me about Bo, it was just, I mean, I'm just thinking, how special are these people and how fortunate I am to be able to work with you. And of course that goes for all the council and the mayors, text me almost every day, but just thank you. I mean, she's home now and, she can talk. She couldn't talk at all. She couldn't swallow. I was able to feed her. Bless her heart, if she survives me as the caregiver. And I'm doing some things I never dreamed I'd do. And but I'm trying. But I've got some. She's back home health care, and hopefully I'm gonna have to get a full-time RN. I say full-time every day. Because some of the things I'm just not able to do, and frankly don't have the support sometimes too. Not from you guys at all, but anyway, we all have situations with families. But thank you so much. It just means so much, and many times it just keeps you going to know somebody takes the time to care and ask. And so I just wanted to say that to each one of you. All right, and continue. Like I said, she is 93, and she is determined, and she's fighting. And she told me the other day I was trying to make her do something. She, as loud as I heard, she said, "Hush, Kip." And I said, "Say it again." Those are the sweetest 2 words I ever heard, because she hadn't been speaking at all. But she told me to hush. So I'm sure like many of you would like to tell me
You
to
gonna
do
give
that
us a
too.
recording of that?
I was
Yeah.
thinking that. I was thinking that very
We
same
can help you
thing.
with that around here.
That's right. Yes, sir. But I love her telling me hush. I felt like I was 8 years old again and in trouble. So, but anyway, thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Is there a motion we go into executive session?
Motion.
Second.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We have 3 items for executive session, and as your city attorney and attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Alabama, I can certify that these items are to discuss preliminary negotiations involving matters of trade or commerce in which the governmental body is in competition with private individuals or entities or other governmental bodies in Alabama or in states or other foreign nations, the discussions of which would have a detrimental impact upon the competitive position of a party to the negotiations or upon the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a public employee or business entity in the area served by the governmental body if disclosed outside of an executive session.
Okay, we have a motion and second, go to executive session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?